Pro-life leaders reiterate there are two important pro-life protections that must be included in American health care. As the healthcare debate continues to develop, here are the two protections pro-lifers emphasize must be in the legislation. First, taxpayers must be protected from funding abortion. And second, Planned Parenthood, the largest abortion provider, must be defunded. We are joined now by U.S. Senator Bill Cassidy of Louisiana. Senator, thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
You have been summoned to the White House this week to work on health care. What does the administration want in U.S. health care reform?
The administration is still committed to replacing Obamacare with something which works better for families. And in the context of this conversation, I will say that also includes making sure that life provisions are protected. So how do we go forward? That's the basis of the conversation.
Excellent. And Senator, you have proposed an amendment to the health care plan along with Senators Graham and Heller. You say would allow Americans to afford the coverage they need. Can you, in a nutshell, tell us what the Graham-Cassidy-Heller amendment entails?
So all the money the federal government is now giving to states would be put into a flexible block grant, allowing the state to come up with solutions that work best for that state. Clearly, Alaska, with one person per square mile, is a different sort of state to address than Washington, D.C., which has over 100,000 people per square mile. The solution is going to be different. Washington, D.C. cannot dictate a one-size-fits-all. My own state of Louisiana would do something different in the individual market, for example. So let's give that flexible block grant to the states, allowing them to come up with solutions for their state. Protects the federal taxpayer. It's not an open-ended run on the Treasury, but it still allows those states to take care of the folks that live there.
Senator, to clarify, does your amendment, A, protect taxpayers from funding abortion, and B, defund Planned Parenthood?
So the protecting taxpayer dollars from being spent on abortion, that is absolutely one of the goals, and we are writing it to that end. I will note that the Graham-Cassidy-Heller amendment was endorsed by Susan B. Anthony, for example. So we think that we've achieved that. As regards the defunding Planned Parenthood, we will defund Planned Parenthood. Now, that said, there are procedural issues where maybe because of Senate rules we can't do it through this piece of legislation, but if we can't do it, it won't be because we have not tried, it'll be because the rules do not allow in this particular type of legislation.
How important are the pro-life protections in our health care to you, Senator? Would you vote for a plan that did not contain those protections?
I would not vote for a plan that did not continue those protections. My wife and I are both physicians, and so we both learned in medical school when life begins and how abortion ends a life. And we both are passionate in our pro-life concerns, beliefs, and what can we do to advance that cause. And we do think that the Graham-Cassidy-Heller amendment would advance that cause. Not only, if you will, extending coverage or health insurance to those who have need of such, but also protecting life of those who have need but can't express it.
What do you see as the pathway to the necessary 51 Senate votes on your amendment?
Well, we will continue to work with governors, listening to them, asking them what would work best for them. If there's going to be momentum, it's going to have to come from someplace else besides Washington, D.C. So if governors can bring their sense of urgency to the table and their endorsement with their input of a better plan forward, we'd like to think that we can go beyond just Republican governors, but also get Democratic governors. That changes the dynamic. It allows, again, a freshness and momentum to come in and hopefully moves us beyond a partisan issue into an issue which both Democrats and Republicans can vote for.
Senator, as you mentioned, you are also a medical doctor. How is your medical background shaping your view on the healthcare debate?
I spent my whole career working in a hospital for the uninsured. So if you will, my whole weeks were with folks that really needed health care but did not have coverage. Or if they had coverage, it was Medicaid, which typically did not pay a private physician her cost or his cost, and so they'd come to our hospital for the uninsured. It gives me insight into that. The needs of those families, how those families are just like you and me, except they just don't have coverage. And perhaps they have more severe medical conditions than others do. And so I see what I'm doing now in politics, an extension of that which I did as a doctor, which is trying to bring health insurance and health coverage to those who need it but don't have it.
Senator Bill Cassidy of Louisiana, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
In studio now, we are joined by the president of the Susan B. Anthony List, Marjorie Dannenfelser. Marjorie, as always, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me again.
What do you make of what Senator Cassidy just shared with us?
Wow, it's a breath of fresh air after a week of frustration, I will say that. I mean, I think you know, we were communicating all night long during the healthcare bill debate. Around 2:30, we found out it's a no-go. Because of Senator McCain's last-ditch vote along with Senator Murkowski-Collins. This today, to me, and I've been talking today with Senator Cassidy and Senator Graham, is a renewed hope that this can possibly be done. In fact, it's arguably more pro-life in that it covers more, the Hyde Amendment covers more of the health care bill, and Planned Parenthood is defunded in it as well. So we haven't gone through the CBO scores, we haven't had the parliamentarian check it out yet, but so far there is no question that we would support such a bill. And I think, look, there is never giving up, and what I love about the spirit of these men is that they are not giving up either, and none of us should as well.
So you are optimistic about this amendment. You mentioned Senators Murkowski and Collins. They did vote against the health care plan, being praised by Cecile Richards. Now, it's not often you have Planned Parenthood praising Republican senators. Are you surprised by this?
Well, they are worthy of Cecile Richards' praise, given the perspective that she has, and that really, you know, they've been there. But this really highlights where they've been for a long time, completely aligned with the far left of the Democratic Party. Even the DCCC, which we ought to talk about, has said that there ought to be a little flexibility on this issue. That maybe in certain cases we ought to be flexible, and that even the Democrats are going to. They are saying, you know, maybe you get to vote pro-life too. Well, Murkowski and Collins are aligned with the far left wing of the Democratic Party on the abortion issue. Even a third of Democrats are pro-life. So it was not surprising, of course disappointing. They are a remnant of the politics and the ethics of the past, and that is really true.
And I do want to get your reaction to that DCCC story that you mentioned. The campaign chief for the Democrats says the party won't have a litmus test on abortion in an interview with The Hill. Representative Ben Ray Lujan of New Mexico says Democrats will not withhold financial support for candidates who oppose abortion. Lujan is the chairman of the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee. Marjorie, what do you make of this bit of news? Is the Democratic Party changing their position on abortion?
Well, look, this has been a battle, a personal battle, a movement battle for decades to allow Democrats to have conscience votes. Just allow them to vote what their conscience tells them. I will believe that this is true the moment that the Democratic Party starts to advocate for really common sense, common ground measures like the pain-capable bill. Now, they're certainly not going to be a pro-life party. If they limber up a little bit and they allow some of their folks to vote the right way, well, good. Then we can possibly see Heidi Heitkamp voting for the pain-capable bill in the Senate. We can see Donnelly doing the same. We can do Tester, on and on and on. And then maybe we can say, yes, they did limber up a little bit, but I won't believe the talking points until reality sets in and we actually have a pro-life law backed by pro-life Democrats.
So we need to continue monitoring that. Marjorie Dannenfelser, president of the Susan B. Anthony List, thank you.
Thank you.